Hello and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to learn about Palm Beach Indivisible's innovative program, the Neighbor Network for Good Government, or N2G2. The 2018 election, while not as shocking as the 2016 election, was just as disappointing for Florida. Despite the blue wave not quite making it here, there was much to be proud of, and N2G2 was one of those things. N2G2 was launched in the spring of 2018 and was active in a range of precincts across Palm Beach County by late summer, early fall. Every precinct in which N2G2 is active outperformed in terms of voter turnout in 2018. This demonstrates the value of N2G2 and its localized, direct voter engagement model. N2G2 is a network of committed volunteers who reach out to target voters in their community, their neighbors, to engage with them, understand the issues they care about, educate them on the importance of voting, and encourage them to use the most effective get-out-the-vote tool we have, vote by mail. The network is built around community coordinators, who are responsible for a voting precinct, and work to enlist their highly motivated neighbors as neighborhood coordinators to take responsibility for a smaller portion of that voting precinct, such as a single neighborhood, building, or a section of a gated community. The neighborhood coordinators, with help from the community coordinators, are then responsible for engaging the target voters. How do we engage those target voters? By organizing them, not just mobilizing them. Mobilizing focuses solely on getting people to the polls and relies on compelling candidates or issues with a vote for me or this message that is short-term focused. Organizing, on the other hand, is voter-driven and centered, reflects community issues, and has a long-term focus. This is what N2G2 aims to do. In 2018, the focus of N2G2 was warm Democratic voters who had only voted in one of the prior two general elections. Mostly, this meant voters who had voted in the presidential election of 2016, but not in the prior midterm election of 2014. The goal was to get those voters to also vote in a midterm election, which we were successful doing. With 2020 being a presidential election, we expect that a substantial majority of those warm voters will vote on their own. We need to focus our efforts on those voters who need more encouragement to vote. Vote by mail had a massive impact on voter turnout across all categories of voters in 2018. In particular, vote by mail had the greatest impact on turnout for those voters who were historically least likely to vote, which we will look at more closely in a minute. And while there were some problems, particularly around signatures, we plan to address them through better education. Now let's look at those less likely voters. New Democratic voters, those voters who registered after the prior general election, voted at a 46% rate overall in 2018. However, those who received a vote by mail voted at over twice the rate of those who did not have a vote by mail. Cold Democratic voters, those voters who were registered but had not voted in the prior two general elections, voted at only a 14% rate overall. Those who received a vote by mail voted at 6 times the rate of those who did not have a vote by mail. This really demonstrates the impact that vote by mail has on less frequent voters. Warm voters, the voters we focused on in 2018, are expected to vote at a 71% rate in a presidential election like 2020, well above the average turnout. New and cold voters are expected to vote at only around 60% and 25% rates. Given the turnout boost from vote by mail seen in 2018, we can have the greatest impact with new and cold voters in 2020. These are the voters that N2G2 will be focusing on. However, while we've seen that vote by mail works across the spectrum of voters, not every voter wants to use vote by mail. Voters want to feel involved, to be heard, and feel that they have a say in the system. We need to connect with voters to understand their issues, give them a voice, and help them understand the importance of voting, whether they use vote by mail or not. That's why we are introducing our listening project. A major part of our 2019-2020 plan is to engage our target voters and to listen to them, using specific questions to help us understand the issues that are important in our communities. This will allow us to refine the program and how we engage voters going forward. Persistent themes or issues can be flagged for action at the community level, engaging the affected voters. As we look back at 2018 and build toward 2020, it is clear that many voters need more education on how voting by mail works. If we want voters to use vote by mail, we need to ensure that they are comfortable with it, so we plan to educate voters on the how and why of vote by mail. We plan on distributing a how-to guide covering timing and dates, signatures, and verifying that a ballot was counted, and we plan to follow up with those who are new to vote by mail. Let's review the changes to the N2G2 program from 2018. We will be shifting our focus from warm voters to new and cold voters. We will focus on listening to voters and responding to their issues. We will provide education on the how-to of vote by mail. We will also be shifting to canvassing as the primary voter outreach tool. Though House parties were successful in recruiting neighborhood coordinators, we don't believe they will be successful in reaching new and cold voters. And, where appropriate, we will engage in targeted outreach to Democratic-leaning NPAs. What are we asking of you? To join the Neighbor Network as a community coordinator, invite potential volunteers from your community to an informal gathering in your home or a local public space, enlist them to work with you as neighborhood coordinators, help your neighborhood coordinators engage target voters in your community and sign them up for vote by mail, periodically gather data from your neighborhood coordinators and report it back to Palm Beach Indivisibles, and meet your neighbors and have fun. What will we provide you? A welcome letter and instructional checklist, a list of potential volunteers in your area, an invitation template, a hosting guide, materials, and presentation to be shown at your gathering, access to Indivisible's voter database, the VAN, and its mobile device tool, Minivan, plus training if needed, and ongoing support. What do you need to have? A burning desire to defeat the GOP in 2020, 1 to 2 hours per week to dedicate to N2G2, decent computer skills and access to a computer, and a smartphone. The last one is not an absolute requirement, so if that is an issue, please let us know as we don't want that to prevent someone from participating. Thank you for taking the time to learn about the Neighbor Network for Good Government. We need you to make this effort a success in 2019 and 2020. To help us help you get the good government you deserve, please contact us at nninfopbin@gmail.com. Thank you and goodbye.